Hello crochet creatures and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Christina and I am the owner of Lealunelle Crochet, and today I'm going to show you how you can make these fingerless gloves. So this is a super easy and quick project and it's made to measure and you can customize it pretty much however you like. You can use whatever yarn you prefer, the hook you prefer, and I will show you how you can make these according to your preferences. Now let's make some gloves. So what you're gonna need is some yarn. You can use any kind of yarn you want. You can use a sport weight, lightweight, bulky, anything. You just adjust it accordingly. I'm using Tweed Delight from Hobby, which is a medium weight yarn. You're gonna need a crochet hook that's in the recommended size for your yarn. I'm using 4.5 millimeters, scissors, stitch markers, and a tapestry needle. We're going to start off with making a slip knot. I'm just going to twist my yarn and then grab the long part of the yarn. You can do this however you prefer. Then I'm going to tighten it. And with this yarn and the size of ribbing that I want, I'm going to chain 9. You can chain more or less if you want a longer or a shorter ribbing. That's really up to you. When you have chained the preferred length for your bottom ribbing, you're going to start in the second chain from your hook and you're going to do single crochets. And continue doing single crochets all the way down to the last chain. When you get to the end here, you want to chain 1 and turn. Now we're going to work single crochets in the back loops only. It can be a little bit tricky on that first stitch, but as you can see on the second stitch here, you see that V, that's the stitch, and we're just going to work in that back loop of that stitch. And just continue to do that till the end of this row. The end of the row, we're going to chain 1 and turn. And then we're just going to repeat the steps from the last row. We're going to do single crochets in the back loops only. And you're just going to continue repeating those steps, doing a chain 1 and a turn at every end, and then single crochets in the back loops only until you have the desired length of your ribbing. You got to make sure that your ribbing is wide enough to fit around the widest part of your hand, which is right under your thumb. And also wide enough to fit where you want your ribbing to be when you wear your gloves, whether that is right under your wrist or higher up in your arm. Mine is going to go about here. And remember to end your ribbing at an even number of rows. Now I'm done with my ribbing. I did 24 rows, and as you can see, it stretches quite a bit and it does fit nicely over my arm. When you have the starting tail at the left side of your work, that means that you're on the right side of your panel. And now we're going to work on the top here. And so we're going to start by not chaining, but doing a single crochet, not in the hole right here, but in that very first stitch. Now we're going to do single crochets evenly on the top of this ribbing, and you're going to do the same amount of single crochets as you have rows in your ribbing. So I'm going to do 24. So you see this line of V's here, you're not going to work into those, but you're going to do 2 single crochets between each of them. So here you're working into that hole, and just keep placing 2 single crochets between each line. Remember to get that very last stitch at the end, place a single crochet there as well. There we have it. We've placed single crochets evenly across the top of the ribbing, and now you want to chain 1 and turn. And now we're going to work half double crochets this whole row. So you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3. Same here, yarn over, insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3. And then just continue on doing that until you're at the end of the row. We are done with the half double crochet row. Now you want to chain 1 and turn. And now we're going to work single crochets in the back loops only. So you're going to work in these back loops of the stitches again. Just do 1 single crochet in the back loop of each stitch for the entire row. Chain 1 and turn. Now we're going to do half double crochets in each stitch. Again, you want to chain 1 and turn. Just going to repeat the last 2 rows doing single crochets in the back loops on the right side and half double crochets on the wrong side of the panel. The last row that we did was a half double crochet, so the next is single crochets in the back loop. You're going to do that until you have the desired length of your glove. Stop when it reaches about your top knuckles, and you should end on a row of single crochets in the back loops only. I've now made the desired length I have for my glove. You can see if it's at the top of my knuckle here, then it reaches about here on my arm. But you can make it as long as you want. You can have a really long glove or a shorter glove. Do whatever your crochet heart desires. But now we're going to make our top ribbing. So I'm going to chain 6. And as I've mentioned earlier on, you can adjust this for your own preferences or the yarn that you use. So chain less if you want a shorter ribbing, or chain more if you want a wider ribbing. We're going to insert our hook in the second chain from the hook, and we're going to do a single crochet in each chain. Then when you reach the bottom, I now have 5 stitches here. I'm going to turn my work so I have the wrong side facing towards me, and then I'm going to do a slip stitch into that very first stitch. And do a slip stitch into the next stitch as well. Then you're going to turn your work, and we're going to work up this side here with these stitches. So you are not going into the slip stitches that we made, so not into this one and not into the second one here either, but you're going to work into that first stitch, and there you're going to do a single crochet in the back loop only. And do that for the rest of that row. When you get to the end of the row, you want to chain 1 and turn. Now we want to do single crochets in the back loops only down this row. Now at the end here, we're going to repeat the same steps as we did before. We're going to slip stitch not into the same place where we placed our last slip stitch, but into the next 2 stitches. And then turn your work. Same steps here. Don't work into the slip stitches, but work into those ribbing stitches and do single crochets in the back loops. Now you just repeat those steps, chaining 1 at the end, turning, doing 5 single crochets in the back loops only, and then slip stitching at the bottom. Continue doing that until you have a ribbing all the way across, and you should end at the top corner here. Now we have our entire panel. I would recommend that you take that yarn you have, cut a pretty long tail so that you can crochet the top together, and make both panels before you assemble them. I've already made one, so I'm just going to use that as a reference, but it's easier if you have both panels before you start putting your markers in to see where your hole is going to be. Now we're going to fold the panel right sides together. So this here is the right side. You see the line of V's that we have here. You can also see it by seeing where your starting tail is. If it's at the bottom of your left side, that's your right side. So now we're just going to fold that right sides in. And then you're going to try your glove on. Then place a stitch marker in that area between your thumb and your index finger right here. Just follow the line from one side to the other so that you know that the stitch marker goes through on the same place at both ends. Put on your glove again, and then we're going to place another stitch marker right below your thumb right here. Now we're going to do slip stitches. So I'm going into that first stitch and this one right here, and I'm just going to slip stitch. And then I'm going to do slip stitches all the way down until I reach that stitch marker. Sometimes this can be a little bit tricky to find where you should put your hook, but you can do it. I believe in you. Just slip stitch away until you have placed your last slip stitch into the same space as you've put your stitch marker. Now you can cut your yarn and pull through. You don't need a long tail like this. I was just at the end of my skein, so don't bother with having such a long tail. We're gonna sew that in later anyways. Now we're gonna continue those steps on the other side here, going up this side. Start by making a slip knot. And just as we did before, go into that first stitch on one side, same stitch on the other side, and then we're going to work slip stitches up all the way until you reach your stitch marker. Now we've slip stitched all the way up here, we can remove our stitch markers. And what we're going to do now, you want to pull on that loop a little bit because we're going to turn our work right side out. Find your loop. You can either work with your yarn inside of your glove like I'm going to do, or you can cut a really long tail and pull that yarn through if you find that to be easier. What we're going to do now is that we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to yarn over and go into that middle part right here where we join the panels together. Yarn over, pull through, and then do half double crochets. And we're going to do half double crochets all the way around the thumb opening here. Just place them evenly. I like to go into this bottom part here so that I don't get this big hole right here. And then I go into those V's and then place 2 half double crochets between them as well. And then just continue to do that until you've made half double crochets all the way around. Just as we did at the bottom, we're gonna place a half double crochet in the middle part here where we join the panels together. When you get to this side, it can be a little bit tricky to work if you still have your yarn going through inside of your glove. So what I like to do is I take a good long tail to work with, and then I cut it and pull that through. If you don't mind working with the yarn inside of your glove, then by all means keep doing that, but I just like to make it a little bit more comfortable for myself while I finish this up. Then just continue on placing those half double crochets evenly across. Right here too, I like to go on the inside of this hole just to make it look a little nicer. And when you get to the end here, then you're gonna slip stitch into that first stitch. And pull your yarn through. Now all we gotta do is weave in the ends and it's done.
Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of it and if you want to make them. And if you do make them, remember to tag me on Instagram at Lealunelle so that I can see them. So that is it for this video, and I will see you in another one soon. Bye!